You've seen the big plays.
Jaron stepping to his right, looking, stopping, firing, end zone, touchdown!
You've heard what the playmakers and coaches have had to say.
Up press Graves, got it!
But now it's time to go behind the mic with BYU sports broadcasters to get their distinctive take on the games.
Oh, what an aggressive play!
This is Behind the Mic with host Cleon Wall.
This episode's a bit of a hodgepodge. No theme this week, but I was fascinated with two things recently that are totally not related. Football Senior Day and the college golf season. Cougar senior golfer Carson Lundell will join me later to talk about the oddity that is the college golf season. But first, the final home game of the season for the BYU football team. The outcome has not always been interesting because the Cougars have played a lot of cupcakes. But I'm always fascinated with the emotions of the departing players and the anticipation of seeing bench players who might actually get some playing time. So I went to Riley Nelson for some insight. I first quizzed him on what he remembers from his final game at Edwards Stadium 10 years ago. Who was your opponent on Senior Day?
The Idaho Vandals.
You are correct, yes. What was the final score?
Oh, yeah. Good question. A lot to a little. They weren't very good that year.
You are correct. BYU won 52-13. How many yards did you pass for in the victory?
Yeah, I only played the first half because both James and I were seniors together, two senior quarterbacks who shared our careers. So I got 2 quarters and he got 2 quarters. I know I threw 3 touchdowns in the first half. And because that was actually my maxes at, sorry, I'm elaborating a little bit too much here, but that was the most I ever threw in a game at BYU, and I did it, I think 4 or 5 times. And I remember Max Hall, who was an assistant coach with us, was advocating for Doman to put me in for for at least one drive the second half, so I could get 4 in a game. But I got 3. I'd say we probably got a lot of short fields because our defense was real good. I don't know, maybe like 220, 230, somewhere around there.
Wow, good job. 236 yards.
Were all 3 touchdowns to Cody?
That was going to be my question to you is, do you know who caught your touchdown passes? And you think it's Cody?
No, I have a memory of 2. I threw a fade. I threw a fade to him on one, and then another one I threw to him on a slant, both in goal line situations. That was Max's doing too. That year we were pretty good down on the goal line running the ball, but Max influenced Dolman to be like, come on, it's his senior night. Give the guy, let's not run it every time. Give the guy some stats, give him some passing touchdowns. So I remember those 2. Maybe the third was a long one where like Cody caught it, bent over, being PI'd in the end zone, bent over his back. No, I don't remember who the third one was. Who was it?
You were correct. Cody Hoffman caught all 3 touchdown passes by you. So he
was an amazing player, man.
You did really good. I was going to ask how many touchdown passes you threw, but you knew that automatically. So what were you thinking coming into that last game at LaVell Edwards Stadium?
Yeah, I'll be honest, and I think I'll just be straight up truthful, because I also feel like this 2022 season shares a lot in common with my season in 2012. We had been through the ring. We lost to some really good teams. A lot of them are the same, right? This team lost to Oregon. We lost to Oregon State. We both lost to Notre Dame. And a lot of ours were close losses. I know of our losses that year, 4 of the 5 were all by less than a touchdown. I think all were less than 3 points. Anyway, so going into that game, which wasn't our final game of the season, I believe New Mexico State was, so it was similar to this. It was our home game against an opponent who we were going to whoop on, and at the time, we were right around 500. So it was a couple of things. One, the emotion, of course, just gratitude for the opportunity to play college football. My dream as I was growing up was to be a Logan High Grizzly. And then once I accomplished that dream, my next dream was to play college football. And I kind of took it step by step. And I'll be honest, I mean, anybody who's seen me or met me, I'm a 6 foot somewhere, back in the playing days, I was north of 200 pounds, but now that I'm not lifting all the time, I'm around 190 pound kind of average white guy from Logan, Utah. So the fact that I got to represent BYU and do it on a national stage and play in so many games gratitude was the first overwhelming emotion, but it was also conflicted by, it was a time to reflect. I felt good about my career, but that season in particularly, the ball could have bounced so many different ways. We missed 3 field goals at the end of the Utah game, and we go for it for 2 against Boise and don't get it and lose by 1. And, Notre Dame, we missed a field goal in the fourth quarter and missed an open catch in the back of the end zone and all those things. So the gratitude was the overwhelming emotion, but the other one was like, man, the senior season had some things had the ball bounced the other way. It could have been a lot differently. And it wasn't all just to play on the field. I mean, our offense had been decimated with injuries. But again, another storyline with this 2022 team. They've battled injuries throughout. They've done their best to valiantly go. But just as the season's gone on, they've whittled away. Ours happened to be on the offensive line, but I look at it like this team looks at linebackers. By the time we got to that Idaho game on senior night, we were of our original 8 offensive linemen that went through fall camp as, your top 8. I think we only had 2 left, right?
Oh, wow.
We had 2 or 3 guys on the offensive line that started the season on scout team. And anyway, Cleon, I'm rambling, but as you can see, the emotions run deep that a decade later, I'm still having trouble sorting through them all.
What was your lasting memory on the field and off the field? Because as you said, you only played a half, but also, you've got coming into the game, you're out practicing, after you're pulled, you're kind of standing on the sidelines with guys, and then you receive your blanket, you get honored, you get to meet with friends and family afterwards. What are your lasting memories both on the field and off the field from that game?
So we, for those that, if you want to go back, or those that may have been there remembered, we had snow piled up on the side of the field. It wasn't a huge storm, but it was enough that when you go back and you watch the highlights of the film, there was snow piled up. We were an 8:30 kick because it wasn't our FCS opponent, which is normally broadcast on BYUtv, and they stick that at 1. That had happened earlier that year against Weber State. So we were the ESPN2 or ESPNU game on the 8:30 slot. And I think temperature at kick was somewhere in the 20s. And like I said, snow piled up. And as I looked around the stadium, like I said, we had been tough losses. We were about 500. And yet there were still 55,000 strong of the BYU faithful and the supporters and the fans. And so I do remember, looking up and around and all the support that they had shown me, and just being overwhelmingly grateful that I happened to be on the receiving end of that passion and dedication from the fan base. That was probably my biggest impression on the field, as you mentioned, kind of in the second half after I'd been taken out. And then as we got into the locker room, of course, it was overwhelming gratitude and appreciation for my teammates and friends and, brothers. It's used as a common term so much nowadays with social media. In other words, I think it's lost a lot of its maybe a lot of its original meaning, but it is true. My teammates in my locker room, that after the game, when we got to go and that we graduated and finished our careers at BYU together, anything I would do for my actual blood brothers, my actual 2, biological brothers, I would do for any of those guys in the locker room. So those were the 2 lasting impressions. One for the fan base and support and all of Cougar Nation. The second was the guys that I had the great fortune to share the field with. You
had mentioned that James Lark played the second half. We're more than likely going to see Jacob Conover in this game. What would you like to see from him when he takes the field? Because he's going to be one of the guys in line probably for the quarterback job next year, as long as Jaron Hall says, see you later, and decides he wants to go professional.
When I backed up Max Hall, we were up 42-0 at halftime at Tulane, and they came out, and Max actually got the next 2 drives, which basically was the third quarter. I got in a drive very into the third quarter that shuttled the third and the fourth. So this was back in 2009. But Max didn't throw the ball those first 2 drives. But it was the second game of the season, and they wanted the first team offense to get a lot of work. The reason why I say that is, as a backup quarterback, that was the game in which I got the most opportunities to throw the football, and I believe I got about 6 attempts. And you're not going to get it's rare that they're going to give you any shots, Rather, you're going to be asked to do mostly the quick game, manage the quick game, throwing slants and tight end sticks and things like that. And then maybe if you get in a third and long situation because some early down runs haven't been successful, maybe you get a chance to execute an intermediate passing game in a third and long or so. And so the biggest thing that you're looking for in a young quarterback in those situations is decisiveness. Does he get the ball out of his hand? A couple of things. Does it look like he's got a handle on what he's seeing pre-snap? B, are his eyes right? And is he processing information once the ball is snapped? And then C, based off the information that he sees and processes, does he get the ball out of his hand? And then D, the last part is once the ball comes out of his hand, is it accurate and on time? So that's the main thing from quarterback. But then also there's a secondary. Is he leading the guys? Are the guys responding to him? Is he getting in and out of the huddle? Is he snapping the ball on time, right? We're not having false starts. We're not having fumbled exchanges. We're not having delay a game. We're not having to burn timeouts because we're at risk of getting a delay a game. Those are it doesn't feel like a lot initially, but those are really the basics and stepping stones that when backup quarterbacks get their opportunities and blow out games, that's really, the package that you want to see from them.
Riley, thanks a lot for joining Behind the Mic.
You bet. Thanks. Always a pleasure, Cleon.
Coming up next, why Carson Lundell doesn't mind the wacky golf season. Welcome back to Behind the Mic. The college golf season is not like football or basketball. You start in September, stop in October, and then start back up again around February. Seems a bit disruptive, but BYU senior golfer Carson Lundell says it's actually good to have a break.
Yeah, it's golf is such a unique sport because honestly, it's almost year round. So yeah, we start in the fall, but the entire summer everyone's playing tournaments all over the country. And so it doesn't really stop. It goes from January, and then with BYU we end in May, and then from May to September it's all, amateur individual stuff, and then it's like, a week off and then bang, hop right into everything for college golf. And so honestly, like this break that we have from November and December, for me, I think it's extremely necessary, just to, just kind of like take a back seat, chill out for a little bit, and, just to really prevent, the burnout factor. Because like I said, it doesn't stop. Like, we're traveling every other week for almost the whole year. But yeah, so I think that it's just like, it's really good that we have a break and, we can all kind of reset, and then, come December. And I mean, personally, yeah, for me, like, I'm not going to touch a club for a month. Like, that's just what I told myself. Like, I just want to take a break, get, work out, work on my body, get strong, and do the things I need to do to be prepared for next year. Before we get into what you do during those 2 months, and you kind of explained a little bit of it, but I have a few more questions on that. How does the split season affect whether or not you make it into the NCAA regionals? Yeah, man, that's such a good question. I mean, I'm not sure how the Golf Stat Committee kind of ranks everything. It feels like the fall is like you can't win it, but you can lose it, if that makes sense. Like, if you don't perform pretty good in the fall, then you're behind the eight ball and back against the wall the entire spring. Whereas if you have a decent fall and put yourself in good position, then the spring I feel like is weighted a little bit differently, and you can really make some jumps and moves. You participated in 5 events in the fall. You finished tied for third twice. You, in your assessment, how do you think you fared? Well, that's a tough question because I have such high expectations of myself. Mm-hmm. And yeah, honestly, I didn't feel like I, nearly lived up to the expectation I have of myself. And, yeah, it was a bummer, but I just, nothing, it didn't really click for me. The short game was off one week, the driver would be off, and nothing really came together. But, it was great because I had great rounds. I shot 8 under with a double bogey at TPC Colorado, and that was the best round I've probably had in all of college. And then in New Mexico, I had a horrible first day of 36 holes, and then, I was able to bounce back with a bogey-free 65, 7. And so I was like, there were a lot of positives to gain from it as well.
St. Mary's Invitational, you finished 12th, but you get to play in Pebble Beach, California at the Poppy Hills Golf Course. Is that the toughest course you've played as a member of the BYU golf team? And if not, which one is the toughest? Because I just think, I was looking at some pictures before I interviewed you, and I'm like, man, that place looks gorgeous. So I'm just curious, beauty, toughness, what's the best course you've played at, or maybe the toughest course, I should say, you've played at?
Yeah, that's a good, Poppy Hills it's a tough track because you have to be extremely precise off the tee. And if you're not, then you're in pretty much like the wilderness. Like there's just big old trees and pine straw, and you just got to navigate your way out. And so Poppy Hills is up there. I would say the hardest, Pasatiempo is in the spring is always a fantastic test.
Now, where's that located?
That's in Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And then the hardest course I've ever played in college has got to be the Blessings Club in Arkansas, where we played the national championship my freshman year. That was a beast of a course.
You talked about that you're going to take, you said the month of December off, is that right?
November.
I'm sorry, you're taking the month of November off. When you do get things back up and going, because you're not going to play your next tournament until I think January 30th in Tucson, what do you do for December and the start of January? Because more than likely here in Utah, we're going to have snow on the ground, or it's going to be really cold outside. Yeah,
so as I mentioned, all of November, I'm just going to kind of chill and try to just work on, my body and make sure it's healthy and right for the spring. And then December, probably second week of December, I'll start to play again. I'll hit balls, at our facility, and I'll probably go down to St. George and Vegas every weekend. But I'm playing in a tournament. I think it's like 2 days after Christmas. It's in Arizona. It's called the Patriot All-American, and so I'll just I need to be prepared for that, and so I'll give myself about 3 weeks to get dialed back in, and then from there, we start probably practices, almost the first week we're home off break, and then it's, full go. So
what's it like? You said practice here at the facility. Is that like you practice indoors? You're practicing your swing? What do you mean when you say practice here at the facility?
Yeah, so we got a pretty new indoor facility over at Fox Hollow in American Fork, and it's got hitting bays where you can open up garages and pound balls out, and it's got a bunch of heaters. I think it's got, I could be way off, but I think it's like a 1,500 foot or square foot putting green in there. And so, yeah, it's got everything we need, and it's, we're just super, super lucky to have that and have access to that in the winter time, because otherwise we're in the indoor football field hitting off artificial. Well, I guess we're hitting off that anyways, but you can only see the ball go 100 yards or 80 yards. So yeah, so that's kind of what we'll do in the winter.
What is that experience like? Because I really haven't done. I played golf before, and I'm not very good. But yeah. What's that like going from natural conditions, you're outside, to now you're just like, well, I'm hitting off of some turf, going into the outside, even if you're at Fox Hollow, but still, it's got to be weird. It can't be the same. What is it like when you guys are practicing at these facilities? Yeah, no,
it's absolutely different. You can hit an inch behind the ball on turf, and the ball can fly good. And if you hit an inch behind the ball on grass, it's going to go, a fourth of the distance it would go originally. And so, but it's really just about the reps, and just making sure everything's fine tuned. And a lot of video work and just, mechanical stuff and just, maybe not as much the ball flight, just because the impact and the what do you call it? Just the impact is different and the compression of the ball. And so, yeah, it's not identical, but it's about the reps.
So then, but you said on weekends, you go down to St. George or Las Vegas.
Yeah.
How much golf do you get in when you go down to these places?
As much as I possibly can.
So we're talking what, like on a Saturday if you go down, are you talking like 36 holes, or what are you trying to do?
Yeah, I'll probably practice for 3 or 4 hours and play 18. That would be kind of like an ideal Saturday in St. George or Las Vegas.
What favorite place to practice at in one of those places?
Sand Hollow is amazing. They've got an awesome practice facility, an amazing range. That's really good. And Trot is great, but they've been doing a bunch of renovations, and it just opened up again, and so I'm excited to go out and see what that's like. And then there's a new one. I think it's like Black Desert or Black Rock out kind of by Entrada, and it's supposed to be amazing as well. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to get down there, and yeah.
Do you have to call them arrange this, or is it arranged through the BYU golf program?
Yeah. Entrada would be through BYU, and then Sand Hollow, they're pretty accommodating to collegiate golfers, and so you can just call them and say, hey, I play on the BYU team. I'd like to come practice if that's okay. And, normally they're fine with it. And then I'm buddies with some of the developers out at Black Desert, Blackstone, the new course out there.
Yeah.
And they've talked to me about, potentially practicing out there in the wintertime. So
do you ever just think to yourself, man, I just really want, I mean, if it's cold outside, you're like, man, I just really want to go out and play. Do you ever just brave the cold and you're like, I'm just going to hit a course here? No snow on the ground, but I mean, it's still decent conditions. But, maybe it's a little windy, highs are maybe only in the 30s or something like that. Do you ever think, I'm just going to go out and play anyway?
There's been times 100%, but I think I'm kind of at the point where it's like, like people do it for fun. And obviously I love golf. It's my absolute passion, and it's been my life, but it's also, like I said, it is my life, and so if it was 35 degrees, I want to be able to enjoy it at all times. And like I said, there's times where I'm just like, itching to get back out there. And that's why I think the break is so good. So then I can kind of, just regenerate myself and get that, hunger to play again, and get that itch to just, want to be out there, want to play, want to practice, and want to get better.
When summer comes back or spring comes back and we're playing again here along the Wasatch Front, what's your favorite course to go play at?
I love Riverside and I love Alpine. Those are my two, because I'm a member at Alpine. That's where I grew up playing Alpine Country Club, and then obviously BYU's affiliation with Riverside is outstanding, and that course is awesome. And then I've got a few buddies who'll take me up to some of the courses in Park City a few times in the summer. So we've got a good setup here.
You made it to the round of 32 in the U.S. Amateur just a few months ago. 2 years prior to that, you made it to the round of 16. Are you hoping to play in one more, or is this it and you're hopefully going to turn professional after this BYU season?
Yeah. I would love to get another chance at it. I'd absolutely lost some sleep over both of those, because I feel like, I could have, I could have, made it further and had a chance to win, and I would love another shot at it. But at the same time, there's, so many opportunities with professional golf directly following college. And so, my plan right now is to turn pro immediately following the season, and, hopefully things go well, and, I'll play in Canadian Q School in the spring, and, hopefully my ranking gets high enough to where, I'm just able to have status right out the gate and have somewhere to play. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
What are you expecting from the team this season? Or do you think you're trending to make the an NCAA regional again and an NCAA final again? Because you guys finished 21st last season. Yeah.
I think that everyone is pretty stung by this fall. I don't think anyone is comfortable of what we did and how we played, and I think we were all pretty disappointed. And last year we had a fantastic spring season, and everyone just kind of kicked it into gear and really amped up the focus and the practice and just the desire to compete and be the best. And so I'm hoping we can do that again, and I'm hoping we can just kick things back into gear and be extremely competitive and just have that hunger to practice and to grind and to accomplish what our goals are.
If you do make it to the NCAA final again, they have a Thursday through Sunday format, which means because of BYU's stance on not playing on Sunday, that means I believe you guys would have to play as a team 2 rounds on Thursday. Is that
one
right?
round?
One round on Thursday.
1 round on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So is it Friday through Sunday? So
it's Friday, Saturday. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and so we play our Sunday round on Thursday. It's either after the girls finish their championship match. So our first tee times at like 3:30, and then we're like from 3:30 to like 4:10, and we've got like 3.5 hours to play, and we all go out as solos, just one guy, and just in a line.
Is anyone else with you from the NCAA or the other teams?
Yeah. We have a walking, or I guess, we have a score that follows us, and then there's like 2 rules officials, and then our coaches and family. So
how weird is that? Just to know, it's just like I've got no one else around me. I have no one else to measure myself against.
Yeah. It's pretty weird, but honestly, like when I look back at college golf, I think it's, one of my most amazing and like greatest memories. Like, not very often you can just have this amazing golf course to yourself. And this is, we did the same thing at the Blessings Club in Arkansas. And, I just remember looking around and just being like, man, like, this is so cool. Like, all my homies and, my brothers are on every single, everywhere I look, there's one of us on one hole, one of us on the other, and on the biggest stage in college golf. And, it's a really cool experience. But it's tough because, like you said, you can't measure yourself against anyone else. You don't know how you really played because there's no one to compare against. Like you have no idea, and the conditions are different. And you're not able to see the reaction of the green when other people hit into it. You're not able to see, the lines of the putts when other people, are putting. So it's tough, but like I said, it's honestly an amazing experience.
You finished tied for 76 in the NCAA final last year at 13 over. You already said that you're pretty hard on yourself about how you did, especially when you talked about how you did in the fall season. What are you kind of hoping for?
Yeah, I mean, Greyhawk is such a good course, and it's so demanding. And I honestly really struggled even having won the regional a week prior. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, my swing just kind of left me. My short game wasn't super sharp, and I think just having experience on that golf course in tournament condition is like so huge. So I really, really am excited for us to get back there and have a chance to do it again. But I mean, obviously we have to play well. We got to take top 5 at regionals and we to have a chance. But I think if we can get back there, I mean, we all learned so much about that golf course. We learned so much about the tee shots and the positioning and just everything. And I think we can perform extremely well if we can get back there.
Carson Lundell, thank you so much for joining us here on Behind the Mic.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Behind the Mic. Please subscribe and download the podcast through your favorite podcast provider or on the BYU Radio app. Behind the Mic is a production of BYU Radio.